Thank you, everyone, for joining us this afternoon, a couple days before the 4th of July. It's a pleasure to have Mark Fisher on here, the founder of Mark Fisher Fitness and Business for Unicorns. We got a great one here planned for you today. We have what's working now, 5 strategies to get more leads and clients in 2025. Mark, I know you're going to kill this one, and we're going to get a continued crowd going on. For those guys, this is being recorded. So if you have to leave sometime and you're going to go, this will be on the Perform Better app roughly in about 2 or 3 weeks. Again, that's the Perform Better app. It's a free download. Unfortunately, we're having a little problem on Android right now, so we're only on iTunes. We're only on Apple right now, but we're trying to work on getting us back on Android. So that will be coming hopefully soon. But you'll be able to go on there, free download on that, and see this here in a couple weeks as well. Mark, it's truly a pleasure for me to present you, Mark Fisher from Mark Fisher Fitness and Business for Unicorns.
All right. Thank you so much, Chris. Great to have you all here. Welcome to 5 strategies to get more leads and more clients in 2025. I know a few of you got this direction before you arrived, but if it's okay, I'd love to get a little more insight, sort of where you're all from here. So you go into, I think we'll actually be the Q&A box for you all, but I know a lot of you have already done this. Thank you for doing that, Coach Thomas, Bill. I'd love for you to write where are you located, what's your business, and what your role, just so I have a sense of who's in the room. Marketing principles will be pretty universally applicable, but the way you're going to apply these are, of course, going to be different if you're an independent trainer, or maybe you're an employee trying to help out your owner, or if you're an online coach. So would love for you to jump on in and thank you so much. Yeah, let me know where you're located. So this is looking pretty good here. So I'm seeing a lot of semi-private personal training. Brett does golf, fitness, and everything. Dan is in Scottsdale in a physical therapy office. Cool, cool, cool. Beth is an Anytime Fitness and manager and coach. Very good. Yep. Also franchisee over here. We'll talk about in a minute. Maggie from Buffalo is a general manager, private strength and conditioning. New York City, private trainer, private clients independent, anonymous attendee. I see you, New York City pal. All right, friends. So I'm skimming through these. Thank you so much. Okay. Oh, we got an Alloy owner and director of training. What's up, Lucas? All right, team. Thank you so much for jumping on in here. Again, I'm so thrilled to have the opportunity to do this on a Wednesday afternoon in the summer. You super killers. We're going to dig right in because I have a lot of stuff to share with you today. But the first I want to acknowledge is the problem that we're here to solve is for too many fitness businesses. You want a lead flow, and what you got is a lead trickle. And in my experience, there's 3 reasons that this tends to happen. There's 3 very common mistakes. The first one is what I call the field of dreams, which is to say we're not really doing any marketing because we opened up our fitness business and we hope that by doing really, really great work, that in of itself would bring the hordes and masses demanding to let us work with them and achieve their fitness dreams with us. And listen, if you have a very small business and you don't need a lot of business and you're not particularly ambitious, you can grow decently by word of mouth, right? And a good fitness business will get some traction, I think, just by dint of being good. But if we want a business that's a little bit more sustainable, maybe we're a little more ambitious, we're going to need some more intentional strategies. The second mistake I see is after a lot of fitness businesses realize, okay, well, I have to do some marketing, we're doing too little volume, right? So maybe we're doing the right things, but we're doing them kind of in a half-hard way. We're not really committing to mastery on those. We're kind of dragging our heels around marketing because we don't love it. And if we're being honest, we know we're not really good at it. And we're kind of doing things we hear we're supposed to post on Instagram. So we do it, but it's not getting us what we want. And in a lot of situations, because there's only so many things you can do to get leads and get clients in a fitness business, you might be doing the right things. You might just not be doing enough of them. And you really need to make up for, you need to just do more total volume, like on a weekly basis. And I'm going to give you some specific recommendations for what that might look like. And then third, sometimes we get it together, we start marketing, we grow our fitness business, we get leads, we get clients, and then we stop because either life happens or frankly, we're so busy fulfilling clients, we get busy. This is the classic trap I like to call, it was working so well, I stopped doing it, right? So that would be very, very normal. And, the big idea for you today is as follows. The big idea for you today is, oh, my unicorn didn't show up. This is supposed to be a picture of a unicorn rocket scientist because your big idea is this. This is not rocket science. This is not rocket science. I have to tell you, sometimes it can feel like you're doing everything and you're banging your head against the wall to get more leads and get more clients. But ultimately, marketing for a gym, particularly gyms, but really any fitness business, there's only so many things you can do, right? The key thing is we have to find the most important strategies, which we are going to cover today, and then we have to do them consistently at an adequate amount of volume to get the results that we're looking for. So a little bit more about me. Chris introduced me a little bit. I think a lot of you know who I am, so I'm going to do like the fast version, but hello, my name is Mark Fisher. I am most notorious in many circles for co-founding a gym in New York City called Mark Fisher Fitness. MFF has become well known for a very colorful, unusual, ninja, pink, glittery, unicorn, rainbow brand. And also, I like to think having a reputation in a lot of circles of actually being serious about the training piece, right? So, lest you think we're lightweight there, something very important to our business from the very, very beginning was we were really good at the training piece. I'm a big Perform Better nerd. I've learned a lot from going to the summits over the years and the various people that live in the Perform Better universe. And the business did very well. So that meant we had the opportunity to be featured in a lot of local and national press. We were on the Inc. 500 as one of the fastest growing companies in America. We were named one of Men's Health's top gyms in America. We even got to do a TEDx talk on culture that my business partner Michael and I gave. And over the 13 years where I was at the helm, we grossed nearly $34 million. We're pretty proud of that. Pretty good run. And I'm no longer at the helm. So about 6 months ago, I sold that business to a longtime friend who had been a trainer for many years and then a gym business coaching client. And I'm very happy to say I love MFF. And she has officially graduated college and moved out. And I can see her down the street from my apartment here in Long Island City, and they're doing great. I'm just so proud of what they're doing. These days, I spend all my time doing gym business stuff like this for Business for Unicorns, which is a company that helps gym owners create more income, more impact, and more freedom. And very specifically, our mission is we want to create fitness businesses that work as a business and are awesome business, but also create lives that are humane and sustainable and awesome for fitness professionals who y'all got really, really big hearts. You're out there looking to make the world better. And I really want to support you and support that mission and make sure also the business is working for your life and your family and your future and your dreams. Finally, I'll just say, only because it's relevant, I know I got some Alloy franchisees here too. I'm also still a gym owner. So I own a small group personal training gym in New Jersey. It's a little bit more, I say as a compliment, of a normie gym, a little close to the gym as many of you run. So small footprint, small staff, 6-on-1 small group personal training. I run that through largely, I got to give her all the credit because I'm only working on about an hour or two per week. I have an amazing fitness director over there. So for those of you looking to run a gym operation through other people, this is another thing I now have a lot of experience doing. And taken together, I think it gives me some strong opinions and a lot of different experiences about how one might grow their gym. Now, I'll also say this, we don't have a lot of time, unfortunately, to talk about what we do at Business for Unicorns, but if you're curious to learn more about our coaching options or potentially hiring me for a full or half mentorship day, you can go to go.businessforunicorns.com/brainstorm. So you're welcome to type that in. If you're watching this later on the recording, then you can find a link somewhere around this video. A few more housekeeping items before we dig into the content. First off, Perform Better is the utter best in the game. It is a continued treat and a real honor for me to be associated with this organization. You know, I first started going to summits probably back in the late 2000 aughts. It's been a long time. And there's no way to overstate how foundational Perform Better has been to my development as a professional. So my hope and assumption is most of you listening either went to Chicago or you're going to Long Beach, which I'm sure tickets are still available. I think it's in 2 weeks, 2 weeks and a day from now. Or perhaps you want to hang out in Providence, Rhode Island in mid-August, where you'll see me because it's no longer conflicting with Burning Man. So I'm so excited to be going back to Providence for the first time in several years. I super can't wait. And I'll also say, let's not forget, hey, friends, this is an equipment company, okay? So one thing about being a pro, I think, and something now, as I have been in the game a long time, if I could give you some big brotherly advice here, is you want to play long-term games with long-term people. And simply put, you're not going to find a group of people or a business that is easier to work with, or frankly, it makes it more fun. So I hope to see you at the summits and go buy their things. Okay, you heard from me, not Chris. I'm telling you that, okay? Two other cool resources from some friends of mine, some business friends. BFS Network is an organization that both Perform Better and Business for Unicorns have a relationship with. In fact, I'll be doing a panel with them in September that you can find out more about soon, I'm sure, through Perform Better and Business for Unicorns channels. But they have a really cool resource I want to direct you to. If you go to bfu.bfsreport.com, so bfu.bfsreport.com, you can access this really awesome and free state of the industry report. Chris and I were just jamming about this before we started this webinar. And the way it works is you're going to give them some information about your business, which helps their data get more robust and more accurate. And then in exchange, you get access to all sorts of awesome and helpful benchmarks that help you understand how you stack up against other training gyms. And important, I think this is super important, also get information broken down by different markets. We're going to talk a little about this today, but to state the obvious, I ran a gym in New York City and I ran a gym in a suburb, and I have clients all over the world, and well, different markets are different. Finally, one other partner I want to tell you about, my new good business friends at Conscious Counsel are offering a free legal audit. So if you want help making sure that your waivers are up to date, that your contracts are legal, it's better to avoid legal problems before they happen. And they're offering a free audit. You go to consciouscounsel.ca/BFU. I have followed Corey's work actually for many years, sort of floating in the fitness business podcast space. I think they're doing really awesome work. And frankly, I like their vibe and the cut of their jib. So if you like my brand and my vibe, I think you're going to like them, and you should have a chat with them. Okay, so we're digging in. I'd love your permission today because we have a lot of stuff to cover. So if it's okay, I'm going to come in hard and fast here because it's the summertime and you all have things to do with your day, and I have a lot to cover. The first thing I want to share is some principles. And the first one is, if you look at this model, this is Business for Unicorns income, impact, and freedom model. I just want to state what I'm sure is very obvious is running a gym or running a fitness business of any kind for that matter is about a lot more than just leads. Now, leads are important. And whenever I talk to people, 9 times out of 10, if you ask them what do they need to grow their business, they're going to say, I need more leads. And we're going to cover that today, and that is awesome. I just want to make the point that there are a lot of other things that are necessary to run a successful fitness business. Business for Unicorns at this point, when we work with people, I think we're at 70 various playbooks, which are just a fancy term for copy pastable standard operating procedures for all parts of running a business, from hiring to overseeing your team's professional development to the way you handle your finances. There's a lot of things for running a successful business. I don't want us to overweight marketing and lead generation, but that's what we're talking about today. It is important. I just know there's more to it than just that. So let's play this game. Run to the Q&A for me, please. I would love for you to type in, if you'd be so kind, how are you currently getting leads? How are you currently getting leads? So run to the Q&A, type this in for me. Some of you might not be getting leads at all right now, right? Might be completely, I hope and I pray, right? Tyler writes in, not well. I appreciate the candor. William, hey, buddy. Referrals and social media. Yep, seeing some more referrals, primarily word of mouth. Juliana's doing some paid ads. Yep. So IGFB advertising. So I'm seeing a lot of word of mouth referrals, very, very normal. Some people, we have one individual mentioned 0 leads in 4 months. Yep, I'm going to help you, Tag. You're in the exact right place here. Seeing more referrals in social media. Okay, so this is helpful. Yeah, so this is about what I expect. I'm seeing a lot of social media. I assume a lot of that's organic social media posting, which we're going to talk about today, and a lot of word of mouth, which is awesome. Word of mouth is very valuable, and I want to help you make sure you're doing that intentionally. Seeing a lot of people doing paid ads, and yep. Okay, cool. Thanks, team. Thanks for getting me up to speed here. Let's cover a few principles here before we talk about what I think you should, what I strongly recommend you should be doing here. So the first thing to appreciate is all of marketing works by people have to first know we exist, then they come to like and trust us, and then they come to hire us. So we're focused today on people knowing you exist. We're focusing on lead generation, where people go from never having heard of you to having heard of you and optimally taking some action towards working with you. Having said that, lead nurture, offers, these are also important if you want to turn those leads into clients. I would also note that tracking is a good thing to do. So some of you probably don't track right now. That's okay. I still love you, but we should start to do this. And particularly, I think we want to track results. So examples here are, if I'm working with a gym owner, I'm going to want to know how many leads you're getting per week on average for the past few months, or at least how many leads you're getting per month you prefer to track on a monthly basis. We probably also want to understand how many front-end offers Are you selling or activating a free? Because usually there's a first thing you want them to do before they sign up for your membership or your main thing. We probably want to be tracking how many sales opportunities you have to make a specific offer to move an individual from whatever your trial is into the main thing. And then the fourth thing we want to be tracking is how many new members did we sell in a given week or a given month, right? So again, from the top again, that's total leads, front end offers, sales opportunities slash asks, and new members. Now, there's a lot of other stuff I'd ask you. If we're doing a mentorship day, I'm going to dig in a lot further. But if you're not tracking anything now, if you just start tracking those four things over time, that's going to be important because if we start doing some of the strategies I suggest you do today, well, marking is another word for test, right? We have to be thoughtful to make sure we're not confusing activity with achievement. Right. So if we start doing things, we need to understand, are these things actually resulting in leads? Because there is a mistake I see sometimes with some more advanced gym owners where they're spending a lot of time doing a lot of things, but really they should probably actually be doing less strategies and spend more time doubling down on the ones that are actually bearing fruit. I would also note a slightly more advanced concept, but once you've got that now out of the way, I know I have some more advanced people on this call here. I recommend tracking weekly behaviors, right? So as an example, for my gym in New Jersey, we're going to track on a weekly basis how many outbound phone calls did my team do. We're going to track how many business partnerships did my fitness director reach out to and have a conversation with. How many DM conversations did we start in Instagram? So I'm not necessarily prescribing those are the ones that you should track or even do, but just to give you some example that, yeah, we want to be tracking the results, but particularly if you're dealing with a team and you want to help hold them accountable, it's a good idea to also track behaviors. All right, so we're going to do this quickly, but I want you to appreciate when we're talking about this lead generation bucket, we're talking about how does somebody go from never having heard of you to having heard of you. There are three ways that this can go. First, you can have a prospect that is looking for a gym or fitness business, and that is one set of strategies. You can have a gym or fitness business that's looking for prospects, which is a different set of strategies. And sometimes people just bump into your facility, right? Now, I'm going to break these each down for you. So first, sometimes a prospect is looking for a gym. There's only really two things people do in the year 2025. And think about this from your perspective. You're looking for a service provider. Write this in the chat box. What are the two things you're going to do? Go ahead, write down the two things you're going to do. So let's say you're looking for a plumber, right? You need a plumber. What might you do? Let's say you're looking for really any kind of service person. Okay. We see a lot of people writing down Google. Yep. Tons of Google or ask a friend. Okay. So those are, I think, to my mind, the two big buckets, right? We're going to search online, and I'm using that term on purpose, for gyms and or personal trainers, often with town, with near me, sometimes best gyms, name of town. And we're searching online. Usually it's going to be in three places. It's going to be either on Google, which used to be like the main place, but things are weird in 2025. Maybe Google Maps. Oftentimes people go to Google Maps, which is essentially a variant of Google. And then thirdly, more and more, I think as we all know, the chatbot of your choice. They're going to ask OpenAI or Gemini or Anthropic. And this is why we need to make sure our digital homes are set up such that we're going to show up when people are looking. So here's another way to think about this. We need to have fishing nets in place and not just fishing poles. Today, I'm going to talk all about fishing poles, but your fishing nets have to be dialed in. We need a website that is well designed, that loads quickly. That's actually important for ranking. It needs to be immediately clear on this website, who you help and the results you create, with one clear call to action about the first thing you want them to do, the main thing you want them to do next. You also need to have a Google business profile that links to your website. And we need to have, this is an important point, we need to have a consistent address, phone number from the website and the Google business profile. If this is in different places, Google will whack you for that. You also need to have an Instagram profile, which functions in many ways as an alternative website. People of a certain generation, they might look at your website, but they're also going to see what's going on Instagram. Now, I think there's Instagram posting on the regular, but a lot of you, I think it'd be, if nothing else, you need to make sure the profile is clear, right? So if I go to the profile, we want a headline similar to the website that makes it immediately clear who you help, what kind of person you work with, what results specifically you create, and exactly you want them to do next that drives them to the link. Now, I think you can and should post on Instagram. I think that's certainly going to make a paid ad strategy more effective. I think in general, a lot of gym owners, my hot take, maybe spend too much time in anguish and anxiety pumping out a ton of social media content that's not really driving business for you. Listen, you have to post on there. We'll talk today about a way you can use Instagram to actually drive leads. But I think the main thing is you just want to make look like the lights are on. I don't know that you need to post twice a day and have 10 stories a day. But if a prospect goes to your Instagram and they see you haven't posted in 3 months, that's bad, right? So you need to make sure that is all set. I'll mention briefly Google paid ads, of course, are, I think, a way you can pay to improve your search results. And I'll say one other thing that seems to be the case and very relevant to 2025, Google reviews, listen, they've always mattered. They've always been a big deal. It's a little bit early innings to understand how the chatbots are scraping the internet if somebody asks chat for help, whatever chatbot that might be. And early innings right now, it seems like Google reviews have always been heavily weighted even for Google's search rankings, and it's even more important for the actual website themselves for chatbots. So make sure if you don't have a system for that, get on all of these. Brett makes a great point here. Have all those things, but if no one is searching for you, it doesn't matter how big your net is. Right, you are, my friend. But here's the thing. No one's searching for you specifically, but they'll be searching for gyms or trainers, right? So I imagine in your market, they're probably searching for that. And what you're saying is right now, you're not coming up in those searches, and that's okay, right? I think both of these matter. And again, this is unfortunately all the time we have today for fishing nets. So while this stuff matters, our focus today is mostly going to be on fishing poles. But I just wanted to mention this because for a lot of you in a lot of markets, making sure that you show up when people are searching for your services is part of the game. Now, here's the other opportunity for you. Okay, let's appreciate this. If they ask a friend, we just said they're going to do an online search or they're going to ask for a friend. This is great because this is an opportunity for word of mouth, but it's going to be way more effective if you have a specific system, if you have trained your clients so they have an easy and obvious way to get started. There are two systems you're going to need, and one of them is a fishing net version of referral. So there's an always available, easy and obvious way for your friend to understand what to say, or your client, if a friend asks them about where they work out. Now, if we go to fishing poles, we can also do referral ask, right? But an always available strategy doesn't always drive behavior by its mere existence. So we'll talk a little bit about some time-sensitive offers you can use to get some better results there. Paid ads, I know a lot of you mentioned. I think not every gym needs them. I think if you're early in the game, you might not need them. And sometimes, frankly, you get far enough along in the game that you can turn down and even turn off the spend if you're nearing capacity. And I would say there are some markets where it doesn't seem to work as well if you do the math. Unfortunately, just like too hard of a game. But more often than not, if I have 3 arrows, right? If I don't know anything about your gym, which obviously I don't because this is a webinar, right? And I have to choose 3 things that most of the time are going to work for most gyms. I'm thinking the 2 different referral systems, right? I'll call them one, the referral ask strategy, the paid ad strategy. You're not going to get the most quality leads, but you're going to get quantity. And if you're good at follow-up and sales, you'll still do well there. And then finally, business partnerships. Now, business partnerships is admittedly a little bit high risk, high return. For years, I think I did them wrong. And I'm going to give you some more context today about where I see this not going well for a lot of gyms and my suggestion for how to make this go better for you. Now, although these are my 3 favorite, again, if I'm speaking in a vacuum and I don't know anything about your gym, depending on your skill set and your market, there's some other ones you might want to consider, right? So as examples, you could do big community events. So one of our Unicorn Society members, our Business for Unicorns coach, Mike Baranis, does events with hundreds of people and gets tons and tons of leads. So although community events are primarily a retention tool, you can incentivize your clients to bring their friends. That's a great way to meet new leads. You can also go to local community events if you have local township day, right? You set up a table, balloons, a raffle for something very, very valuable to drive leads. That's another great way of getting leads if that works in your market. You can also talk to strangers one-on-one. Now, this one I know is terrifying for a lot of people. And, I'll concede this doesn't scale very well, but if it's the beginning, and you don't have a lot of money, but you have a lot of time, I think there's something to be said for being a business owner, learning how to talk to somebody you do not know in your neighborhood. Because if you're a gym owner, right, we only need to be 3 mile famous, right? I didn't see, most of you didn't seem like you're online coaches. But if you're a geographically constrained brick and mortar gym owner, facility owner, independent trainer, well, the good news is you only need to be 3 Mile famous. So being able to talk to somebody online, the local coffee shop, strike up a conversation, and maybe even make them a very low barrier offer to take one step to learn more about what you do, I think is a very valuable practice. The only reason I'm not saying this is one of the core ones is just because it doesn't scale that well. It is a volume game. But, the other way to think about this is if you have, 5 conversations with strangers per week, right? And you do that 50 weeks a year, that's 250 convos. You do that 3 years, that's 750 convos. If you have 10 conversations per week, now that's 1,500 conversations over 3 years, which for a lot of you in a lot of markets will go very far to make sure people know you exist, which is the first step here again. And then there's a bucket of other things. These are all good too, right? We have direct mail. We have direct mail, I think can work. I just think in general, you're usually going to get more money doing paid ads. You could local advertise, right? If you have a local newspaper or magazine, sometimes a print ad can work. And you can tell once we get to this part, I'm very tenuous with all these. I'm like, sometimes. I don't think flyering is a complete waste, but I would put that relatively lower on the strategies you might employ. I'm not sure that having flyers in a local, businesses, let's say corkboard, is going to move the ball forward. I will say, if I give you a quick pro tip, can I give you an extra pro tip? I'm telling you, this is money for us in a lot of markets as work. As part of the business partnerships, if you can get them to leave a plastic box and raffle off a free month of membership, this is one of our most reliable way for driving leads for our gym in New Jersey. I have to think you had to choose. I think that's just going to be more effective for you than flyering, but again, that fits a little bit more under the business partnership category because you have to sell the owner on why this is a good idea for them. And hint, 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 usually it's because you're doing something valuable for them, right? And then finally, posting in local Facebook groups. This is one, again, it's kind of hit or miss. It doesn't work at all in some markets, but oddly, it seems to be most commonly if you're in either a very rural market or a very tightly populated neighborhood in a very tightly populated urban market, that works pretty well. So, now is as good a time as any to say, again, marketing is another word for test. So our focus today is going to be the 5 things I think are most effective if you had to choose. With me not knowing anything about your market, your skill set, or your business. But it's worth knowing there are these other things you might want to consider. Just be careful you don't try to do all of them. I think that's the biggest mistake I see is people trying to do all of them. And it's better to do probably 3 to 5 to maybe 7 if you have a lot of time. Finally, sometimes people jump into your gym. This is unsexy. People don't think about this, but signage matters because if you are on an end cap, let's say in a strip mall, it wants to be obvious that there's a gym there when people walk by. Obviously, if you're in a warehouse or you're inside an office park, maybe it's not quite as important, but sometimes people can notice you're there by driving or walking by. And if you're in a place with a lot of pedestrian traffic, this really, really matters. And I think this is a missed opportunity for a lot of gyms. It's not obvious what the gym is, or importantly, what the passerby should do. So I like using a QR code and maybe a sandwich board in that scenario. And then yet again, they're going to bump into because a friend is going to bring them into the person's awareness. And maybe this is because they saw an Instagram collaboration that your gym did with the client, which you should interpret correctly as a suggestion for you to consider, right? Collaborate with your clients so that it shows up in their friends' feeds. And then it might just come up in conversation, right? Your friends might be getting coffee with someone after the session. And ideally, if they ask how the session was, they now go 2.1, right? They have this referral offer. They make it clear, the easy and obvious way for the friend to get started. I believe my friend Andy McCoy calls this the coffee test, right? Is if your client's friend asks them about how their day has been, they just had a session, hopefully you are remarkable enough that they're going to mention your fitness business. Okay, so these are my favorite 5 lead generation strategies here. Okay. You'll see the first and the 5th aren't really generating new strategies, I think, so much as leveraging existing sources of leads. And if you want a big old list of tons of them here, I hope you all have this, but if you don't yet, you can get a free digital download of my book that I wrote, which covers everything you need to know about getting more leads and more clients. I get to cover a lot more strategies than I have time for here. You can go to gymmarketingsecretsbook.com. It's less than a 30-minute read. I have to warn you, there's no cutesy stories. It's just like the meat, just like here's a checklist. But if you're looking for a comprehensive overview of all the things you can do to get more leads and more clients, all the systems you could consider, give that a download. Okay. So first, let's talk about the acres of diamonds. Now we're getting into the 5 strategies. The first is re-engaging old leads, and I'll spare you the full overwrought version of the story that if any of you've seen me give a version of this talk, you've maybe seen me give. So for today, instead of it ending with a farmer dying covered in STDs, I'll say that there's an old-timey story in personal development and sales circles that I think is very relevant for a lot of fitness businesses. And it's called Acres of Diamonds. And the story, very briefly, is old-timey days. Farmer has a farm, notices there's a lot of diamonds in the area, and they decide they want to go into diamonds. So they sell their farm to go search for diamonds. They don't find any diamonds, only to come to realize later that the person they sold the farm to has a ton of diamonds because the diamonds were on the farm all along. So in Acres of Diamonds, your takeaway here is too often a lot of businesses, by the way, in all industries, spend too much time trying to generate new leads, which does matter, right? Go out, find the other diamonds, but they're not paying attention to the fact they already have acres of diamonds. There are already people that know you and like you and trust you, that if you just got in the habit of talking to them and building a relationship, providing value, and occasionally making offers for next steps, I think a lot of you would see a lot of progress. And right away, for a lot of you watching, this is probably something like by next week you could take action on and start to get some leads to raise their hand and start on the path to working with you as a member. So let's talk about the big buckets here. There's a few big buckets here, okay? You have your former clients. If you've been in the business for more than a little while, sadly, in a long enough timeline, we all lose clients, right? So these are people that have been a member, have done your core offer, but are not currently working with you for any number of reasons. You have a good relationship with these people, and I think you should periodically invite them to come back. Then you have unconverted leads. So this is anybody, and I would define this as anybody you have an explicit professional relationship with that has showed any kind of interest in what you have to offer. So again, if you've been doing this for any period of time, you've had people maybe send you an email or maybe walk in if you have a physical facility. Maybe they've opted into a paid ad or opted in off your website. But for any number of reasons, you never got them in the door. They never came in and did the full thing. So these people are very important for you to go speak to regularly because unless they've affirmatively declined, I think we should operate on the assumption that they're still interested in the service you have to offer and it just wasn't the right time. So we want to make sure we're showing back up regularly and making invitations for them to take a next step. Now, the third bucket, perhaps controversial in some circles, is personal relationships. So the average person knows 600 people, if the internet is to be believed. And in practice, I think this is also a missed opportunity for a lot of fitness professionals. It's funny, a friend of mine recently sent me a Gary Vee video recently, and I was like, Gary Vee, there's a reason everybody loves Gary Vee. So he was talking about what you would do if you started a new business. And Gary Vee was like, just film a 60-second video and be like, hello, if you're getting this video, I want to let you know about an awesome new business I'm starting. I'd love your support. I'd love to tell you about what we do and how we might be able to help you. I'm sorry if this feels like spam, but this is the only video you'll get from me. If you have any interest in learning more, please respond, right? And his suggestion was, and some of you might want to do this. This is intense. It's not too far from what I would suggest, but I bet a lot of you might be reticent, but hopefully it gives you some sense of what you could do if you really, really wanted to drive business. Gary Vaynerchuk is just like, film this video and then just spend all day on a Sunday. And if you have 2,000 numbers in your phone, send it one by one to 2,000 people. Just do it all day once. Whoa. Now, listen, I love that. I think a lot of you could consider that. I must confess that's maybe even a little bit more extreme for me, but I think the takeaway here is this. Listen, y'all, a closed mouth does not get fed, right? We have to be willing to put ourselves out there and we have to go, I think, first our acres of diamonds, right? Too many people are too busy hoping that strangers are going to give them time of day when there's already all these people that know you, like you, trust you, that might take an action. Because particularly the personal relationships, the point I would make is this. Listen, if you would say hello to somebody in a grocery store, I think this is somebody that you should at least make sure that they know what you do, that they're consistently reminded about what you do, not only because, yes, in some cases, they might be a great client for you and you might be able to help them if you're good at what you do, but importantly, they can often be a great referral source because this is somebody that, again, you already have a personal relationship with. So this is the annoying part of this, right? If you want to do this well, outside the intense Gary Vaynerchuk's approach, which I kind of love, if I'm being honest. You have to organize the contact database. A lot of times when I'm first starting working with a fitness business, we have a lot of contacts, but they're all over the place, right? We have a bunch of personal and professional contacts in our business email and maybe in our personal email. We have a bunch of cell phone contacts, which may or may not be appropriate to be contacting about this. We have a bunch of Facebook friends and Instagram followers that, again, this is tedious, but if you just spent a week, doing this, really meticulously going through everybody on your Facebook, everybody on your Instagram, looking through your cell phone, I bet almost everybody listening could have 500 to 700 names, right? And it's not, I get it. It's not a easy task. It's a little bit tedious, but you really only need to do it once. And then going forward, you just need to make sure you're organizing new leads as they come in. Also to state the very obvious, if you have a booking and billing platform, if you're working with, let's say a MindBody or a Zen Planner or a Kilo or a Push Press, those names are all explicitly professional contacts and they should be hearing from you regularly. So once you've done this, you might be asking, now what do I do, Mark? Well, we've organized the database. I think it's a good idea to warm people up, maybe send one email, maybe from your blind copy from your Gmail if it's not a big list. Let them know how often they'll be hearing from you. Let them know about what you're up to. Make it clear to them how you're helping people, the types of results you create, and then make it obvious to them this first email what they might want to do next. Now, in a perfect world, you're now going to start doing email marketing. I like at least once a week for almost everybody in a vacuum. You can do a little bit more if it's sustainable for you, if that works for your capacity. I think in a minimum twice per month would be a bare minimum, but I think once per week is really much better because a lot of the game here is we just don't want them to forget about you, right? We want to create what's called top of mind awareness. You want to be in their email inbox because otherwise they're just going to forget you exist. And that's harsh to say, but that's the way this works. Now, if you're contacting them regularly, ideally giving them some value building content, giving them some information that will help them achieve their fitness goals, you then have earned the right to periodically make offers. So I think for never been clients, I think you want to go back with a time sensitive offer every 6 to 8 weeks. I think with former clients, every 3 to 4 months. I like a lower pace here because they've been a client. They broke up with you. I think it's weird to go back to them every 6 weeks, but you still want to go back to them regularly. And that's why I think it's ideal if you can to have these lists separate. And I would note your current clients, by the way, can also get, if not offers, at least messages every few months. And that might just be reminding them about the referral offer, which we're about to talk about, or it might be offering them things like maybe doing a free upgrade for a month. Okay. So that's the first one. Now, the second one, unfortunately, we don't have a ton to say about this because it's paid digital ads, right? This is something that gym owners can do. So members of our Unicorn Society have access to some video trainings. Some of our clients choose to build their own ads, and that can save you a lot of money, but does require you invest in understanding the skill set required to run your own ads. AI certainly helps, but I think for more owners than not, you're probably best off considering a vendor. We work with an awesome vendor, Gym Member Machine. You can Google Gym Member Machine. I use them in my gym in New Jersey. Disclosure, they are a partner for us at Business for Unicorns, but I think they do great work if you're looking for paid ad vendor. I think you should talk to them because even though the conversion, the throughput from the number of leads to new members will not be what it was in 2017, it is the most reliable way to immediately start getting more leads. The only thing I will caution you, can I real talk you? I can real talk you. It's Wednesday in the summer. I'll real talk you. The one concern that I have that sometimes happens is you've really got to be ready to follow up a lot. You've got to be accomplished at, probably phone sales and or in-person sales. If you're used to just relying on people, going through a gauntlet to find your gym and getting dragged in by their hair by their friends, it is a different kind of process to get somebody that has never heard of you to take action and come in and sign up for membership. Now, can it happen? Yep, it happens all day, every day with all of our clients all around the world. It happens pretty much every day at my gym in New Jersey, right? This is a learnable skill, but I have to warn you, if you've not done this, it's not a magic bullet, right? It's not a magic bullet, and it's going to be a different kind of work. It's going to require a different kind of capacity, and it's likely worth it. Now, we talked about Google Ads. Again, Google Ads essentially just allow you to cheat, if you will, and not rely purely on organic search. I would say you can test the numbers. In most markets, more often than not, oftentimes, even considering the much worse throughput from the much colder leads from outbound disruptive meta advertising, you will tend to get a better cost per new client than you will for Google Ads. The reason being Google ad leads tend to be a lot more expensive. So when you do the math, you tend to be better off for Meta, but it really depends. You have to test it. Again, a great vendor will help you with this. And I'll just say again, you got to update that Google business profile. You got to update it once a week. Tell Google you're open and get those reviews. It's a big deal. We don't have a lot of time to talk about today. I have some very fun SOPs for clients, but I'll just say in brief, that might be something you consider making a weekly KPI for your team. So you're constantly telling Google that we're here, we're open, and people like us, gosh darn it. Okay, so third, now we're into referrals. That's my daughter with her friend. So there's two kinds of referral systems you need. I think you need a referral phishing net and a referral phishing pole. So for a referral phishing net, I think every fitness business needs an evergreen referral offer that makes it easy and obvious for the friend to start and functions as a thank you for the client, right? So this might be something like every client gets, I'm just making this up here, but every client that comes in gets access to a discounted front end offer, and or maybe they get half off their first month. And then the thank you for the client is maybe you give the referring client half off their next month after their friend signs up. Now, that's probably really worth your time because a referring client is likely to hang out for a while and be a very good client for you. So I think you can afford to be generous here. But I want to make the case, this is very important to understand. I don't think you're really incentivizing the client to do that because you're bribing them with money, right? And in fact, if they feel like that, the social science research suggests you're going to turn them off. So I think that's really more about thanking them because I'll tell you, somebody recently has been driving a lot of business for, I won't name the name of the business, but there's a business that's I've been driving a lot of business to, and they keep responding with their referral offer, and it's nothing. It's like dollars. And I'm starting to feel not good because I'm driving them a lot of business. And by the way, I'm not over here like counting the pennies and nickels, right? I play long-term games with long-term people, but it is starting to feel like, oh my gosh, it's like almost insulting how little I'm getting out of this. But I digress. I share that because again, you don't want, particularly if you have a super for a client, you really want to systemize the thank you. Now, having said that, even though the mere existence of the referral offer will not guarantee that your clients are out there beating the streets, screaming about you from the rooftops, it is also true that you can remind them regularly about this and make it clear to them at various points in their client journey. So classically, you would let them know about this offer when they sign up to ask them if there's anyone else they know. Maybe you would choose to do that after they're 30 or 60 days into their membership while they're peak hot to trot. There's all sorts of different triggers you could use to remind your clients about this always available, awesome referral offer. You could also just let all of your clients know every maybe 3 to 6 months because they're just going to forget. It's not they don't love you. They just forget. And you need to find ways of just reminding them. But remember, this won't drive behavior in and of itself. This is a phishing net. It's designed to give clients an easy and obvious way for their friends to get started. A phishing pole, however, is a limited time referral promo that drives behavior because when people can do things whenever, they do them never. I shall say that again. When people can do things whenever, they do them never. The phishing net is great, but the limitation of the evergreen referral offer is, well, it's always available. So it's hard to really pull the lever to get action if and when you're looking to drive leads, let's say in the next, 1 to 4 weeks. So it's great if you can give people some kind of time sensitive incentive to take action. As an example, see how he models? If you go to go.businessunicorns.com/brainstorm, if you decided that you want to help us implement something from your 3-step plan and work with us, if you mention this webinar for the first 3 people that move forward, we'll give you $1,000 off whatever you choose to move forward with, right? If you don't take action soon, then that's fine. You just won't get the cool offer, and that's just as well. So hopefully that models for you how incentives work. So let's talk about the way this might work in your gym, because your gym is going to work a little bit different. Now, certainly you could highlight your offer with an even extra incentive for your client. You could perhaps have a particular period of time where you give an entire free month for the client's friend. A lot of people do this around the holidays. My one pro tip here is very important. You need to have a claim by and a start by date. A lot of people do this, but then it's just like a hanging chad. And there's no more incentive anymore if they can do it whenever. And when people can do things whenever, they do them never. So if you really want to up the value for the client and or the referring client, I think we want to have a claim by and a start by date. Bring a buddy weeks, I think, are awesome. We've used them for years at MFF, and we use them in my gym today in New Jersey. I don't think you can do these more than every maybe 3 months because it starts to get a little old hat, but I think maybe every 4 to 6 months, if you promote one week, that the following week Your clients can bring their friends in to train for free. That is a great way to make leads. Obviously, this is only going to work if you have a model that allows for you bringing people in some sort of group format. But I think this is a great way to meet clients' friends. You can also do a give to get contest, right? If you have a lot of clients, if you have a big gym and you're a large group model, this was a classic Orange Theory play back in the day, right? You're having a big contest and you're giving away a flat screen and a barbecue grill and a nice Yeti cooler, and you're allowing your clients to win points by doing things like giving Google reviews, posting on Instagram, bringing in leads. I love this play, but admittedly, it does require a lot of capacity and works best if you have a lot of clients. And then finally, we mentioned before, community events for your members is a kind of time-sensitive lead driving opera, right? Because a community event's happening at a specific time. So again, you can think through what sort of incentives you might give to incentivize your clients to bring their friends. All right. So in closing, you need two kinds of referral offers. You need an evergreen referral offer, a fishing net, and you need a fishing pole. So I might suggest you choose and schedule one limited time referral offer. All right, friends, we are doing great here. We got about 10 more minutes here. Just give me some feedback here. Jump on in here. What's been the most valuable takeaway so far? What is the most valuable takeaway so far? And Brett, I see one clarification here. You're saying that they're not searching for golf fitness. So then, yeah, then you'll need to change what your website says and make sure you're showing up for what they are searching for. Yep. Tips for referrals and ideas. Thank you, Victoria. Coach Thomas says, just booked a brainstorm. Okay, great. See you tomorrow. 1 month off free offer to other businesses. Yep. And we're going to talk about business partnerships in just a minute. Yep. Giving a discount to both parties for referrals. Yep. What else here? What else are you learning here? Reminder of importance of uploading things to Google Map Profile regularly. Yeah, a lot of people miss that. A pro tip there is just you can do an Instagram post once per week. Just cross-post it. You can have a VA do that for you. And that way, again, you're telling Google, I'm open, I'm open. Getting structured information on a referral system. Cool. Good stuff here. Yep. Bill says, get an evergreen going. All right, team, good stuff in here. Thank you for this. We got a few more minutes here. So I just want to tell you a little bit more about business partnerships and what I've done wrong. So first of all, what's this? Does anyone know what this one is? Who knows what this one is? What is this? Who recognizes it? I'll give you a gold star. It is going once, going twice. It's Predator, right? Predator. I think we can all agree this is the zenith of Western society, art, and culture. So business partnerships. Here's the deal. New York, I think, A, is a tough market for it. And B, I think I just didn't do a good job with this. So, MFF had an amazing business partnership, and still do, with a nonprofit, which, by the way, people, I think, underappreciate how good partners nonprofits can be, called Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS. But I think the key thing we did wrong was we just weren't doing enough volume. So I'm going to give you like a simple system for this. But my suggestion is the first thing you need to do is just look around your local area for geographic partners, right? What are the businesses in physical proximity? So as an example, if you're in a strip mall, ideally we're doing a partnership with the hair salon and the local coffee shop, and they don't need to be a fitness business. But if they have clients and customers that regularly come to that area, you have gifts to give each other, right? Then we have demographic partners, right? So the same avatar, right? So these would be people that maybe it's a broader geographic proximity, but they're the types of clients that might use fitness services, right? So think nutrition supplement stores, think meal delivery, think chiropractor, think recovery services. Those are the two types of businesses, and I recommend you make a list of both. And then the key thing here, volume matters. The key thing here is volume matters. You have to do so much more than you think you need. And again, mea culpa, I did this wrong for a long time. If I had to give you a number, I would say I don't know, 10 per month. That sounds like a lot, but I think your throughput here is going to be 4 to 5%. So if you want, 5 good business partners, you might need to talk to more than 100 businesses. And I know that this is why, again, I mentioned at the beginning, I think this is kind of a high risk, high return, because it might be the third business you talk to is gushing leads on you like an oil geyser, or you might talk to 25 businesses and just not get anywhere. If you want to improve your chance of results, I think the other key thing here is you want to help first. Okay, so that's the main thing I'll tell you. You want to help first. That is another mistake people make. They go in very transactional. They're like, what have you done for me lately? That's okay. Again, you're trying to drive each other's business, but if I were in your shoes, and I am. I would suggest going in with the attitude of, okay, what can I do to help this business? Oftentimes, what they want is money, right? So maybe you buy their services or you offer to make an offer to your audience base, your clientele base, but you want to help first before you ask of anything. Then when appropriate, not only do you ask for appropriate, but the reality is, look, if you're really helping other business, they're going to start to feel weird after a while. It just feels weird if you do that and you're not helping. So, and your pro tip here, I can tell you, I know Lucas is on here, probably some other allied people. Talk to franchisees. The local mom and pop pizza shop might not give you a lot of play, but if you go and talk to a Hand and Stone massage or a Stretch Lab, those are business owners that are being trained by their franchise or corporate overlords to do business partnerships. So I would recommend prioritizing them probably above anybody else. So actions here are make a possible partner list, right? You got your demographic and your geographic, and then make a give and get list, right? What are the things you might give them? And if given the opportunity, what might you ask for? Because again, you're going to have to do the work for them a lot of the time. If you don't do the legwork of thinking what you're going to give or what you're going to get, a lot of times they don't know what they need. So try to make it easy for them. And then if you were to run this, I suggest you consider making a weekly plan to test for 3 months. Make a weekly plan, test this out for 3 months, see the way that goes. Just this is a classic example of one that if you don't do with adequate volume and you don't do with consistency, it's going to feel like it didn't work. And you're right, it didn't work, but it didn't work because with love, I did it too. You just didn't do the adequate amount of volume to get the reps needed to have the chance of making this win. Now, the last thing, and we're going to cover this quickly, Instagram prospecting. So again, this isn't really lead generation. This is more taking suspects, people that are already in your world, lurking at you on the Instagram, and turning them prospects, right? And it's really just nothing more complicated, just starting conversations with people that are already following you, liking, and engaging you. That's it. Now, again, this is another volume game, right? So I want to be upfront here. You're not going to have half the people you talk to turn into members, but it's relatively low commitment. This is sort of like a low risk, low return strategy. It's not that hard. Again, a VA could do this for you to just have conversations with people that follow you, have conversations with people that like and engage with your posts. So at the very minimal, I think you should greet followers, particularly if you have a local business, like a local personally branded independent trainer business or your brick and mortar gym. If people like your business profile, they must have some interest in what you do. So you might as well say hello. And if they're following you, you won't show up as a request. You'll just show up in their DM inbox. And then if you want to have more conversations, you can also do two specific kind of posts. In your feed, you can do hand raiser posts, and I'll show you an example. And then in stories, you can do polls, right? This or that. Make it easy for them to respond. And again, I'm going to give you some examples here because then once people respond, now a conversation has started. So here's an example of a guy that did this really well. My buddy Rich, we worked together because it was over a year ago at this point, and Rich was getting about 3 trials per month, which, even for a smaller gym, a one human band, that's not enough to certainly to grow. So we applied some of these strategies, and DMs were a big piece of this. And this guy got over 40 trials in under 3 months. I would know this was over the holidays, with no paid ads, right? A lot of it was just like this Instagram game. So again, I can't promise it's going to work for all of you the same way, but I am saying for a lot of you have opportunities here. So again, the story, keep it easy. Which goal is more important to you, this or that? If people are engaged, if they're seeing your circle and they see your story, if they respond, you can then follow up with a question. And again, here's the key tip for all of this. It's sometimes called sell by chat, but I prefer nurture by chat because I'm not trying to sell by chat. I'm starting to have a conversation, right? Most people don't want to be sold right away. I don't know you. So I like to ask simple questions such as, do you live in the area, right? You want yes or no's or this or that? Are you just here for the content, or do you want to achieve a specific goal that your gym is well known for? You could also ask, what's your biggest fitness struggle, this or that, right? The key thing is you're just trying to get a conversation going because conversations lead to conversions. Now, the feed post, I love this one here. And I think any gym or trainer, anybody that has a fitness brand can do this. Maybe as frequently as every 3 months, but probably no less than every 6 months, where you just reintroduce yourself as a person, maybe share some fun facts, and then make it clear If you want some help, here is what to do, right? Because presumably more people follow you every month that don't know much about you. So you periodically need to reintroduce yourself to your followers. And this is an example of this going really well. I think Rich sold something absurd, like over 10 paid trials off of this one post. And admittedly, Rich is like central casting's like good looking guy here. So, maybe not for results will vary, but you'll see this is a very, very charming post, a ton of likes, ton of engagement, and he sold trials and got members out of it. So we like it. Now, about to get you out of here. As a reminder, there are other things you can do, right? Those are my 5 favorite, not knowing anything about your business or your market or your skill set, because some of you are better and with love worse at some of the things. If you want the full list, remember, you go to jimmarketingsecretsbook.com. I just want to remind you, I'm going to say one more time, you're probably going to want to do more than 1 or 2 things. You probably don't want to do more than 6 or 7 things, and you want to spend an adequate amount of volume. Be careful you don't wind up doing 7 things in a half-ass way. It'd be better to do 3 things all out and really give them the time and the effort on a weekly basis and long enough to really see some results. So some final points here before I let you go on with your summer afternoon or your day if you're watching the recording later. Remember, daily action is the game. Daily action is the game here, right? Daily action is the thing. Coach Thomas writes, yeah, 3 whole ass things. That's right. You want to generate leads, but remember, you got to do other stuff, right? Nurture, follow up, and offers matter. And let's say you got to deliver great service, right? It's another reason why if you're not going to perform better summits, if you're not sending your team to perform better summit, like the service does matter, right? If retention's not good, it doesn't matter how many leads we're getting in the top of the bucket if everybody's falling out of the bottom. But prospects can't hire if they've never heard of you. Okay, so as a reminder, if you want to find out more about what we do at Business for Unicorns, at the minimum, this is an opportunity to talk with someone on my team and get clear on where you're at right now and what might be possible for you in the next 90 days, as well as clarify, okay, what's the most important constraint? And then some of you might decide you're interested in having us implement, and then be happy to schedule another call and tell you more about that if that sounds fun for you. And as a reminder, we're happy to give you $1,000 off. The first 3 people that mention Perform Better webinar will give you $1,000 off anything you choose to move forward with. So some closing thoughts here. Again, thank you so much, Perform Better. You're the absolute best in the game. I appreciate this opportunity, not only to do this webinar, but be associated in any way. As a reminder, you better buy their equipment or I'm mad at you. Also, don't forget about the BFS Network survey and Conscious Council. If you're watching the recording, you can go back for this. If you want to type this in now, I'll say slowly, that's bfu.bfsreport.com or consciouscouncil.ca/BFU. Both free things that are cool. And finally, thank you so much. It's an honor to get to do what I do. I appreciate you taking this time either on this Wednesday afternoon for the tons of you that are here live, which is such a joy for me, or watching later. At any rate, you've given me some of your time. I do not take it for granted. I appreciate you a great deal. I want to thank you so much. We are officially met for this webinar. I don't have a hard out, but I want to be respectful of Chris Poyer's time because he probably has better things to do with his life. So we are officially done with the prepared part of the presentation in our tight 60 minutes. Maybe if Chris has a moment, I see he's still on there. If people have maybe 1 or 2 quick questions, I'm happy to bang them out. I just want to be respectful of Chris and, of course, also of your time. I'll give this just a beat. The good news is I think we were able to capture most things as we went along. Any burning questions, maybe 1 or 2 before we go? I'll give you another 30 seconds.
Nice chance.
Going
I think you answered everyone's
I think you answered it
question,
all.
Mark.
I must have done perfectly.
That was good. That was good. Oh, you got one.
It's actually just William being really kind, saying nice things. Thank you, William. Favorite front-end offer in a vacuum for most training gyms most of the time. I like 14 days for $99 of unlimited training. Obviously, you do one-on-one, it's going to be a different offer. The answer is it depends, but if I had to choose one, that's it. Gareth says, best advice for starting from scratch as an independent trainer, contact database, Gareth. I tell you, that is the thing I did. It's the whole game. Contact database, and don't be shy about telling people what you do. A closed mouth does not get fed.
Perfect, Mark. Cool. Thank you so much. And just a heads up, I know you obviously mentioned BFS. We will be we're getting ready to set up a webinar. We won't have a webinar in August, but we'll be back in September. Mark's going to be on a panel with BFS, and we're planning something really good where we're going to go over all those results that they've collected, and they're going to strategize on them and talk about them,
Oh,
and see how they apply. That's going to be something
my
interesting.
nerdy
We've
dream.
never done that before, so that'll
Awesome.
be awesome. Stay tuned for that, guys. Everyone, thank you for joining us. For latecomers, again, it's going to be on the PB app. Roughly in about 2 or 3 weeks. You can download that. It's a free app. Just let perform better. You can download that, and you'll be able to see this video if you missed any of it. But Mark, thank you so much.
Thank you so
Have a
much.
great weekend. Have a great 4th of July, and we appreciate you.
Thanks, Chris. Bye all.
Thanks, guys.